I have devised to assist people, coaches and coachees alike, to be able to detect where they are in their own personal journeys based on different categories and ideas. One of the issues that we face as new coaches is that we deliver blind. So we know that we want to assist somebody and we know that we want to help them, but we haven't really got a very good angle on what their needs are, because we haven't taken the time and put in the efforts to really diagnose what the issues are that the person faces. So you can have one person who is an incredibly self-reflective individual who has particular goals that they need to achieve, and you can have somebody who has very little personal reflection or experience in those things. They both need your coaching, but they both need a slightly different approach. And I created a correlation or a matrix of advancing or staged different levels of development that you can detect in a client. So I've called this the coaching matrix. And if you're interested, I've put a copy of the coaching matrix into the description below. There's a PDF which you can download, and I invite you to do so because I think it could be potentially very useful. There must be stages of development or ways that we can detect and ways that we can diagnose a person's state, so that you can then start to create solutions or assist that person to find their own solutions. So having some kind of matrix which is going to illustrate to you where you feel this person is when you first meet them, it's going to be a great way for you to progress your agenda and help them to develop their agenda. Now, the reason I feel that a matrix of this nature could be useful to any emerging coach is that it gives you an accountable and transparent process that you can assess against. And one of the major issues in education and in coaching, I would suggest, is that people are loath to assess properly the needs of their clients. Well, there are two reasons. The first one is they tend to assess according to their own capabilities and their own qualities and project things onto people which they don't have. And the second reason that people fail to assess properly is that they don't have an objective set of benchmarks against which to do their assessing. If you have a matrix such as the one that I've developed here, you can use this at any stage of your coaching career. I'm not saying it's the 10 Commandments or that what I've written is set in stone. However, I am saying that it is a quick and easy way for you to reference the quality of the service you deliver. And it's a quick and easy way not only to reference the quality of the service you deliver, it's a means by which you can evolve your own coaching practices, knowing that you have solid foundations on which to build. So, I'd like to suggest very strongly to you, if you are willing, to have a look at the coaching matrix which I put in the description below. If, as a new or emerging coach, you feel that a matrix of this kind could be useful to your practice, give you a place to start, a solid foundation, I'm really keen to hear your feedback. Have a look at it and tell me what you think. Let's have a look together at some of the stages of development that we might go through. For example, in terms of our ability to reflect on our own personal outcomes. Personal reflection could start at stage 1, having zero or very limited personal reflection. And it can go right through to level 6, which is having a constant and ongoing sense of personal reflection, which informs your own personal development on a daily basis. And between those stages, there could be any numbers of different staging posts, shall we say. For example, there could be emerging quality of personal reflection. There could be a consolidated sense of personal reflection. There could be a consciously applied sense of personal reflection. And then, of course, there could be and unconsciously applied personal reflection. So any part of our personal development is subject to different stages, shall we say. And one of the challenges is how to detect those. So what I've done is I've broken down several different categories of personal development, which include reflection, which include goal setting, for example. And I've encouraged the reader to be able to evaluate where somebody is when you first start to coach them. And another one of the simple beauties of this matrix is that you can actually stage your client's progression, and you can measure your client's progression against the discrete steps that they take towards better outcomes. So knowing where to start, or knowing where you're starting, is a great way to know how to progress. And knowing where you should be finishing is a great way to know what the end game is. My own motivation for putting together a matrix of this kind was that we all owe it to our clients to be transparent and to be accountable. And what better way to be accountable than to be able to point to the assessment criteria that we're using, and to be able to point to the progress and the progressions that we expect our clients to be able to achieve. The alternative is making it up as you go along, is it not? It means that you're both working towards an agreed outcome. You don't have to use the assessment criteria or the matrix in secret or hide anything from your clients. Quite the contrary. You're now putting yourself into a position where you are claiming the authority that you deserve to claim. What's the point of being a coach if you're just making it up as you go along? What's the point? Where's the authority in that? No, a much better way to go about things is to set out your stall at the very beginning and show that you have the capabilities and the experience to be able to assist a person in an open, transparent and ethical manner. This ties in nicely with my own goal, which is to create a kind of academy. Part of my personal mission is to create easy to reference and accessible materials that anybody can use. I'm trying to rescue coaching from being some kind of esoteric, highfalutin pursuit and make it something for the everyman to do. And what better way to make coaching something that every man can do than by creating a matrix and a sense of progression that every man can understand. That's the reason for the coaching matrix. It's my way of democratizing the coaching process by creating referenceable ways to show progress. Then we're stepping closer to being able to professionalize our practices. And so what I'm aiming to do is to bring the best of what lifelong education has to offer and to integrate it into our coaching practices so that we can operate with our shoulders back and our heads up. One of the major issues I've faced as a new or emerging coach is that I've been flying blind because I was treating everybody as being equally coachable and equally deserving of the same delivery, regardless of how they present. And the truth of the matter is, different people have different needs, and different people present differently. My challenge was to see where they were on the scale of their own development. This matrix helps me greatly in this. Is because it's given me the benchmarks and the accountable descriptors, really, of where somebody might be at the beginning of their own journey. I've widened the matrix to include coaching qualities, slightly more in depth and descriptive set of stages. I'll talk about this more in the future, but for now let's just stick with the coachee. What I'm seeking to do is to provide descriptions for the coach to apply to the coachee so that they can see where they are at any given stage of their journey. Coachee A might present very differently to coachee B. They still have needs which require development, but some need to start from scratch and some are already on the journey. Having that knowledge of how to describe this, I think, is very important.